apparently Edge was on the oh god, whatever that podcast called with Corey Gray. Please, somebody help me.
After the bell.
After the bell. Yes, yes. And you know, apparently he made a comment about, you know, the criticism of his match with with Randy Orton. And I don't remember the exact phrase, but he basically was trying to say that you know, we as fans just, you know, just accept what you're seeing and shut up, because he thought that the match was great. He got a comment from Bret Hart, and Bret Hart said that, you know, Bret Hart and all of his peers were saying that, hey, like amazing, great match. You guys really blew it out the park. You guys did this. You guys did that. You know, of course, you were gone almost 11 years. Of course, your fellow peers and your fellow coworkers are gonna say, "Hey, man, great match." You know, they're not gonna sit here and tell you, "Hey, man, you know, we'll welcome back." By the way, I was falling asleep on your match, man. What the hell is going on? You know, I thought that was very selfish in a way of Edge, because he was telling, he was kind of basically, I hate to say it, but he was finally trying to tell the fans, like, you guys are stupid. You guys don't know what you're talking about. Bret Hart thought it was great. All my peers thought it was great. So that's all that matters. And I think this is kind of like a different situation with him and Rousey. I think, Vic, I think you're right. No, excuse me, Lou. I think you're right. I think Rousey, what Rousey's doing is definitely a work. It feels like a work. I had this conversation with Joe the other day. But I think this Edge thing, I think he spoke from the heart and just, you know, I don't know. I think he lost control of something here. You know, I cannot, you know, point phrase that exact words that he said, but he basically was telling the fans, like, what are you guys talking about? My coworkers thought it was great. What all that matters? Hey, guess what? They're all gonna say it's great, because they're not gonna tell you to get a face where, like, I had to drink coffee to stay up, you know. But Vic, I'm sorry, yeah.
No, you're absolutely right. I'd be scared to tell Ed, if I'm his coworker or his friend, that match was boring. And let me tell you, I could see Bret Hart appreciating that match, because the details in that match are great.
No,
And
they are.
facials and execution. There's a lot of great stuff in that match. I don't think anyone is gonna argue that there's great stuff in that match. The reality is that it was very boring, and I think it was the wrong time to do a match like that with no fans in the audience, no one to feed off. Like, there's no energy with that match. You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
We're watching, and it felt empty. I know we disagreed when we talked about it.
I think one thing that hurt that match was the fact that, like we all said, it was just too long. That's all. It was probably 10
way
to 15.
too long.
It was the second longest match in WrestleMania history.
Jesus.
Like, what? No,
Some people want to talk about
not that type of match. That type of match should have been, 20 minutes. They should have kept all the cool shit. They did a lot of fun stuff. And then the end of it was great. That bit of emotion towards the end, that should have been that's all we needed, really, for me. And I've been on Twitter. I've been checking polls. I've been checking websites. Everyone who's asked, like a majority of their own fans, whatever website is asking, no one likes this match. It's like 70-30.
But hey, what's considered the match of the night? I think it's between the Boneyard and the Charlotte and Rhea match, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
I think the Boneyard's getting a lot of love, and I don't blame them at all, because it was very fun.
Great.
It was really well done, especially it's the best we've seen Taker in a long time for me. So that got a lot of love. Shockingly, from, if I remember correctly, the Cena Bray Wyatt was the second most hated match and the second most loved match.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
50.
So it's 50-50 down the middle for that match. People either loved it or hated it. I thought that's how it was gonna be for Orton and Edge, but a lot of people just didn't. Everyone thought it was too long and blown.
You know what sucks about that is that it's not even Edge's fault. He just went out and had the match. WWE filmed it a week and a half ago, whatever it is. It's their job to edit it.
Yeah,
you have to edit it to protect your guys. They gave us a 40-minute match when they could have edited out that entire segment in the back with the 2, 3, 4 similar-looking offices. It's tough because he went out, poured his heart out, he did his job, and they should have edited a bit better to protect them, but it was too much. It was a little too much.
Lou likes this match a lot.
Well, I mean,
I feel sorry for Lou.
Here's the thing about it, right? I understand the position where people say that, hey, the match was too long. I totally get it. I understand it was 37 minutes in length, crazy long. I think there might be some issues here with, at least to me, I think that this might be a matter of an audience that doesn't necessarily have the same attention span to where they can sit through long matches. It's almost, again, the way that we consume wrestling on TV. Long matches are not generally presented anymore because the thought process is from maybe the promoters and the producer side, as well as the audience is, hey, we can't sit here and watch an hour-long match. It was the same thing like this past week on NXT with Gargano and Ciampa, that they basically wrestled the whole hour. And
I didn't get to see it.
I would no, just watch it. I mean, it's good. I was frustrated.
Is it better or worse than the Edge? It has a lot of comparisons to that match.
You know what? The thing about it is that I think that both matches are similar in the way that they're being presented, meaning they're grudge matches, and they're not presented as wrestling matches, you know, and that's I think this is the reason why with me when fans are saying, hey, we hated the match, I'm looking at it and saying, did you hate the match because you found it boring, or did you hate the match because it was too long and you couldn't sit through it and just stay with it for the whole 40 minutes? When I watched it I came on Sunday night. When I watched it, I loved it. And it was because, yes, they did. Yeah, a lot of things are repetitive, but again, it's not a wrestling match. It's a fight. So what is it? What are they going to do? They're going to do a spear. They're going to do a Hurricane Rana. They're going to do arm locks and headlocks. No, it's going to be kicking, punching. They're going to be using whatever's there. Now, the length of it could be argued, because sometimes if I thought, again, if this would have been, you know, two guys that didn't have the history that they have with each other and the love from the audience over decades of a body of work in WWE, then I would have agreed with y'all and say, you know what, 40 minutes at WrestleMania is not the right thing to do for, you know, wrestler X and wrestler Y. But when you're talking about Edge and Orton, it's like there's a lot, man. You're talking easily a decade's plus worth of history with them working as a team, working against each other. Then the Edge's layoff for 9 years, coming back. You know, the whole thing with, you know, appearing in the Royal Rumble, costing Randy Orton the spot. Then the next night on Raw, Randy Orton leaves him a receipt, basically tries to kill him off. Then, you know, the whole thing with, you know, him talking smack about Edge's kids, then Beth Phoenix. I mean, again, I'm going to repeat what I said the first time we talked about this. If I know that somebody that I'm wrestling put their hands on my wife and laid her out, I'm not satisfied beating them. Even if I have them beat in 10 or 15 minutes, if I could beat them down for 20 more to satisfy myself, I'm going to do it. So I didn't have a problem with the length of the match. And I think that for those that, you know, that might have an issue with it, I think it might be a matter of like, which audience is saying this. If it's a younger audience that's saying this, then I can probably take it as they don't have, you know, their attention span is a little less, and maybe they have a lot less patience for longer matches. And maybe if it's an older audience, might be like, hey, if it's good, then I can stay with it. And, you know, I thought that it was long. Don't get me wrong. I thought the match was long in the tooth, but I didn't think it was bad. And that's the reason why I say that for a match like that, knowing that I don't think we're going to be seeing those guys wrestling against each other anytime soon, and I seriously don't think we're going to be seeing Edge on WWE TV for a long time, if ever, in you know, wrestling again. There might be a long gap in between. I had no problem with the match going as long as it did, you know, realistically, because when you see the stuff that was on Sunday night, the card for WrestleMania, the only other long match that was really on that card was the opening match between Charlotte and Rhea. All the other matches were relatively short.
And maybe they should have gave those 36 minutes to them, because that was the match. Technically, the finish sucked, but If we talking just technical
Well,
ability,
it was a master.
it was
It was a
great.
master class. It was a master
You know
class.
what would have changed it? Just thinking about it now for me, because they were doing that. They were talking smack to each other in the middle of the ring. Charlotte would turn around. She's like, "This is your NXT champ," just talking a lot of smack. I would have appreciated, just thinking now, if Edge, you touch my wife. This is for my wife. This is for my kids. But there's no one else there.
Yeah, it was
like,
just.
I want to hear you guys. It was just like quiet
Yeah, it was
punch
just a
kick. Here, there's no.
It kind of
I
felt like a
hate you.
grudge more than a personal fight.
Yeah, I want to hear because there's no background noise. I'm just hearing. I want to hear like you son of a you SOB.
Yeah,
because
kind
that
of like
that
what
makes it feel more
with
like
AJ.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Look, when it comes to Edge's comments, it's just like when someone talks bad about something that you've created, right? Because that wrestling is, to me, it's like art, right? It's like music, right? So we're gonna come up with a piece, then we're gonna present this piece. When people talk bad about your music or your art, you're like, fuck you.
You're gonna retaliate.
That shit was great. Fuck you. I don't blame
Especially
Edge for like
kick busting your ass.
that stance. But I think the problem with it's a match between Edge and Orton, which, the way they presented it, the build was so good that fans wanted the match to be perfect. They just did. They wanted this to be, an all-time classic match. I don't think it was an all-time classic match. So, and if it wasn't gonna reach, that level of greatness, fans were gonna be upset no matter what. But that's good because they hold Edge and Orton at a very, very, very high standard. I was walking around telling everybody this is gonna be Edge's best match ever because he's been sitting on his ass for 9 years. He watches every program.
He has a lot of energy.
He's not prejudiced against any show. He watches all wrestling. He's so smart and he analyzes everything. He's been thinking about this moment for 9 years, and it's gonna be perfect. His next one, I think, will be a lot better.
No, I agree. This was a good match with a lot of criticism, and I think that's what Edge was trying to address with his comments.
And here's the thing too. I think that what ends up happening, a guy like him as well, when you look at a veteran wrestler like he is, I think that over the years, I mean, I didn't hear the comments, so I gotta take it with a grain of salt. But what might be the issue here is that he looks at it and says, okay, I've been wrestling for however many years I've been wrestling, right? He's dedicated his entire adult life to professional wrestling. So he understands that fans tend to have a voice in professional wrestling. And, listen, fans have their own flavor and they like what they like. They don't like what they don't like. But at the same time, I think that with a lot of wrestlers, the issue that they take on is that they look at fans and say, yes, we understand that you do understand some of the nuances to professional wrestling, but there's a certain aspect to the making of the art and the psychology of pro wrestling as an art form that unless you're in the ring, you'll never understand. You'll never truly grasp it. And I think that wrestling fans at times have a tendency to want to put their own stamp of approval, and they want to be able to judge things and criticize things a little too harshly, not necessarily understanding all the nuances, all the plays, and all the things that go on to make whatever match happen. And I think that at times that might be where this stems from, but again, giving Edge the benefit of the doubt because I didn't hear the comment and I don't know the context. But in previous, and in many other instances, I've heard a lot of wrestlers give that same complaint about wrestling fans, is that they want too much without understanding the real nuance of the inner workings of professional wrestling, because we're not wrestlers. We don't know. And, we only know a certain part. We know what we're allowed to know, but what really goes on deep behind, unless you're in it, unless you're in the business, you never really know. Truly.
Hey, I will say this. No other match, the same fans did not criticize other matches. They didn't say this match was one of the worst matches I've ever seen. They didn't say this was a snooze fest. They didn't say this match was too long. Me personally, I don't care about any other fan. I can speak for myself. I was falling asleep during that match. Chris texts me. He's like, this match needs to end. That was 20 minutes in.
Yeah.
It went another 17. That, Of course, everyone has their own flavor. There's plenty of people who like this match. I'm not saying that your opinion.
I thought this was a good match.
No,
I thought it was good too.
I saw a lot of good stuff. You know,
Yeah.
it's edging Orton. There's gonna be a lot
I
of.
thought it was gonna end on that table spot. I'm like, oh, this is it.
Yeah, I actually
Boom, lands on him. I'm like, it's over.
Like
And they kept going.
From all the way on the top of the production truck, because they had like a table just full of yeah, I forgot all that catering, and I literally thought that Edge was gonna suplex him or spear him or something. But yeah, no. Aside from that, I thought it was a good match. It's just it went on just a little too long. That's my only issue with that match. But other than that, I thought it was great. Yeah. So more rants. Apparently, Ronda Rousey has retaliated. Retaliated from her comments, what she said on the Steve-O show of like, why are people getting mad that this is fake fighting, and F the fans, and my family loves me. I don't care about any of it. I'm not coming. If I do come back, I'm not coming back full time, which I thought it was, I thought that was legit Ronda Rousey speaking. But, when we had that conversation, Lou was like, this has to be a work, man. This has to be a freaking work. So after Nia, Alexa, and Jesus Christ, Lana spoke their minds on social media and all their platform, saying, I cannot believe she said that. Won't she come back and I'll knock her out? Ronda retaliated. Would you guys mind if I read what she wrote?
Please do.
Read it,
please.
All right. Ronda basically wrote in retaliation. Sorry. Anyone who is outraged by me calling pro wrestling fake fighting for fun has never been in a real fight. While all you are tiptoeing around, bruising some pro wrestlers' huge, soft egos, no one is thinking about all the real fighters you're insulting when pretending pro wrestling is somehow on the same level of realism. Yes, I understand. Wrestling is 300 days a year for years on end. It's incredibly tough on the body and a difficult profession. But do you know what happens if you go in 300 fights in a year? You'll be dead.
Did you see her Instagram post?
I think it was her. Hold on, because I'm on Google. So
what was the Instagram?
It was her Twitter. It's her Twitter account, and
that was a good one too.
Kayfabe killer.
She said something else on Instagram.
She did.
Oh, she did.
What was it, Chris?
Yeah.
Do you know?
Yes, I do. She wrote under a caption. She had a maybe I should show. Should I show you?
You can try.
So
you can try. I mean, we don't know if the.
See?
She posts herself holding up a Hulk Hogan doll, and she posts the caption. She posts the caption of Hogan's tweet.
I did see that, where she's punching him and then she elbow drops him.
Yeah, so she posts the infamous old ass Hogan tweet. Let me see. Did she delete it? Okay.
Probably.
Damn, I don't know if it'll show.
She's beating him. Oh, that elbow was fire. That was a good elbow. Wait, oh!
Hey guys. Isn't that
You want to hear the caption?
That's funny. I'll give that. That's funny.
Was that us like 30 years ago?
That was me 5 minutes ago.
30 years ago. Yeah, seriously. She goes, "Good night, rowdy ones, and jabroni marks without a life that don't know it a work. When you work a work and work yourself into a shoot marks." That's Hogan's tweet from 10 years ago.
But look, my friends, it is all
copy and pasted.
It is all a work.
Work.
I would have said it's not a work, and I would have felt for it if she didn't say the same things during WWE programming. She called it fake on the air, live.
Yeah, I do remember that. I was
fake
skeptical.
on television.
Yeah, I was skeptical at first. I said, "Man, this has got to."
I will say this:
the person talking.
I will say this: Lana's tweet is probably legit because I don't think they involve her in any conversation. Alexa Bliss tweet might be legit, but Nia's tweet is a fucking work.
What did she say? I didn't see it.
She She said, "Hey, it might be fake, but when Ronda comes back, I'm gonna shoot on her basically, and I'm gonna knock her the fuck out." So she said she's gonna knock her out during WWE programming for real. So she also called wrestling fake. She said she's gonna turn it into a real match. So Nia has now gone on to say wrestling is fake on Twitter. It is a work.
Except Nia almost killed Becky.
Yeah.
Yeah, she did, but
that was by accident.
Yeah, that was clearly an accident. Yeah.
Of course it was an accident, and thank God, because talk about what needed to happen for Becky. Just like Austin, all those moments that lined up perfectly for Austin. There were a lot of good moments that lined up perfectly for Becky, and shout out to Becky.
That was a big
now the highest paid female wrestler in the world.
I mean,
the King of the Ring, the broken neck, you name it. Like everything.
Here's my thing with this: if it's a work,
none of that was planned. That's the crazy part about it. But I literally thought at first that this was this was just real Ronda just pissed off already. Like, you know what, the fans got under my skin already. I can't take this no more. I'm going back into MMA. I'm just gonna talk shit. And then
who is this to feud with?
With the whole damn roster.
Oh no, with the whole damn roster. I think
it's awesome. I don't like that she's saying it's fake, but her trolling the entire roster, I do like that.
Vic, let me ask you: Do you think that WWE did this purposely to have Ronda booed? Because I feel that WWE was probably like, you know what, when she gets back, she's gonna get a huge reaction. Becky's kind of cooled off a little. Chances are that the crowd is probably gonna boo Becky and cheer Ronda. So by WWE saying, hey, just say, you know what, F the fans, that's just gonna give them reason to hate you and cheer Becky on. Is it possible you think they did that?
I think that Ronda did not like being booed when she was a good guy. And she's like, what the fuck, guys? Like, what are we doing? Yeah. And Ronda has enough power. She's a big enough star to go to Vince and Triple H and go, y'all got to fix this. Okay, we'll make you a bad guy. And they went with it. And if you look at Brock's presentation, where this is a shoot MMA fighter in wrestling, how do we take that one step further? Look, you're gonna bash wrestling and how fake it is all the time, and you're an actual fighter, and that's what we're gonna go with. I don't agree with that part of it. But I can see it's very obvious that that's the direction, and that's gonna be the direction. And she's coming back very soon. Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised. Maybe she doesn't want to come back during this bullshit, but as soon as it's over, she's back soon. If it's over within the next 2 months, she'll be at SummerSlam.
Yeah.
Like she will be there, and you will see her use the word fake again on television to confirm that this was a work all along.
Oh, Lord. Yeah. But Lou, I'm sorry, man. We kept you off the loop here.
No,
what are your thoughts on this situation?
Listen, my thoughts haven't changed at all. I mean, I think that
you were the first one to say, by the way, you out of all of us, right? You're the one that said this is a work, guys. Come on.
Well, listen, this is a work, but the thing that I don't like about it is, again, this is a matter of Ronda Rousey. I think, the person actually, the fact that she's going out, and we know, again, she's an Olympic judo fighter, an Olympic medal judo fighter. She was. She became the biggest star in the UFC at a time when UFC was not female friendly at all. She became the biggest star in the UFC. And when she came to WWE, again, I said it before, she made a seamless transition into professional wrestling, knowing that going from shoot fighting to then going into pro wrestling, which is, listen, it's still a combat sport. I'm sorry. That's the reason why I get mad when people call wrestling fake. It's a combat sport, even though it's choreographed and there's cooperation amongst the performers and the wrestlers, but it's still combat sport. Listen, people have died in the ring. They're athletes. People, listen, if you saw Dark Side of the Ring this past week, and you saw Darren Drozdov sitting in a wheelchair in part of a fake fight with D'Lo Brown, one bad move, and the man has spent the last 20 years of his life in a wheelchair. So again, this is where for Ronda Rousey, and even if she's working and she's being, doing a heel character, if WWE is greenlighting this, I would look at them and say, yo, shame on you. Because what you're doing is that you're basically now turning a light switch on your business and saying, hey, all our stuff is fake. What you're doing is that you're essentially unintentionally probably burying every single wrestler on your roster. Because listen, Ronda Rousey's a megastar, and when you put her name on the marquee, everybody's going to look. But guess what? She's one person, and you have 100 wrestlers on your roster. So if you have 100 wrestlers, but let's just say, if you have 100 wrestlers on your roster, and outside of Ronda Rousey and Brock Lesnar, you don't have a marquee player, that's your fault. It is your fault. And the thing about it is that you can't have anybody, because Brock Lesnar can legitimately probably kill anybody with his bare hand. And you've never seen him or Paul Heyman ever on any promo they've ever cut, and they've cut hundreds. They have never, ever once called wrestling fake. You want to know why? Because it makes him look stupid, it makes the business look stupid, and whoever he's wrestling with makes him look weak automatically. So Ronda Rousey, when she comes out and she says, oh, this fake fighting stuff, listen, I'm sure that you could probably legitimately break half those women in half. It doesn't matter. Show respect. Show respect to the business, because guess what? That's the business that's feeding you. Unless you legitimately wanted to go to UFC, there's a reason why you left UFC. Because the last 2 fights you had in the UFC, you got legitimately beat. I'm sorry. You got legitimately beat. You got legitimately beat.
I'm a Ronda fan. I love Ronda.
So do I.
I love you, Ronda.
Listen, I love Ronda Rousey. I think she's great. Listen, I'm ranting and I'm going off. But listen, I think Ronda Rousey is great for pro wrestling. But don't ever go on and say, oh, this stuff is fake. Please don't say that, because it's disrespectful. Listen, it's disrespectful to every single wrestler on the WWE roster. It's disrespectful to the hundreds, if not thousands, of pro wrestlers that have come before you and have laid the foundation for you. They've given you this opportunity.
And she's a big fan, according to her.
And if you're a big fan and you took the name after a legend, God rest his soul, Roddy Piper, you think that if Roddy Piper were alive today, that he would look at Ronda Rousey and not give her a heat, being like, what the hell are you doing? Like, seriously.
Okay, wait.
No.
She can't wear that Piper gear no more.
Lou,
take off the Piper gear.
I think
good shit. Good fire. Good baby face fire.
Listen.
Good baby face fire.
And again, I understand that this is a work, but at the same time, you could be working yourself to a point that when she comes back, you're like, yeah, you're going to get a tremendous amount of heat, but guess what? The heat's going to be all on you, and you've basically buried every single woman that you've wrestled. And guess what? Whoever they put you in the ring against, the only way that woman is going to get legitimized is that she's going to have to beat your butt for real in the ring. And even if even though it's a complete work, Ronda Rousey is going to have to present herself as like, oh my God, whoever this person I'm wrestling against is, no matter who it is, she's going to have to be on the wrong side of the offense and take a butt whipping like she's never taken before in a wrestling ring, so that then, the fans can start believing in whoever she's working with. So I'm sorry.
I'm gonna defend Ronda.
Please do.
Okay. Again, I do not agree with the booking, but it is the booking. And every wrestler in WWE does what Vince says. If the writer says you need to be this character, that is who they are. It's unfortunate, but she's working, and while she's working, we have to blame Vince. It's his call.
What do we always say, man?
This was not her idea.
Of course not. But
because she's a wrestling fan, but I don't think she's a big enough wrestling fan to see it a picture this big. This is a huge idea, right? And this is like, we're gonna shit on wrestling to make you the biggest heel, the biggest baddest bitch on the planet, and this is an idea from Vince, Triple H, or Paul Heyman.
Yeah, well, listen.
Every one of them three is smart enough to come up with this booking. And I don't agree with it, but I don't blame Ronda. I blame the booking. So I still love you, Ronda. Don't kick my ass. Kick Lou's ass. Who's not on you?
And then it was that guy.
Listen, I
have Jersey guy.
Listen, I have no doubt. I have no doubt that if I was to get into any physical altercation with Ronda Rousey, that she would put me down in like 30 seconds, right? And
that's a long time.
That's what I'm saying.
It's a good fight.
That's terrible. But what I'm saying is that realistically, it's listen. All I know is that in this particular setting, I just think that, yes, I know that it's a work, and I know that, this isn't Ronda Rousey's idea. If this is coming from the WWE,
it's not Ronda's idea.
with all due respect, guys, you got it wrong, because what you're doing is that whether you realize this or not, you're trying to create a megastar with Ronda Rousey, but at the same time, you can't do that with somebody who's only going to be working a limited schedule, and yet you have 100 other wrestlers that get
burying your business at the same time.
The company's being carried on their backs because they're the ones that have to work, 300 nights a year, and Ronda Rousey can work 50, and then you got 250 nights a year where now you're basically telling your audience directly through the voice of Ronda Rousey that, hey, all your wrestlers are fake, and they're all that this stuff is fake. This stuff should not be taken seriously. Henceforth, the performers don't need to be taken seriously. The fans don't take it seriously, and then it basically just becomes, there's no.
One thing I'll say about that is that the fans know, right? All the people that are in the arena, unless it's like a kid that's 5 years old, we all know what we're watching, what we're attending. So it's not going to affect the fans so much, I don't think. This might not do anything for anybody but her. She'll just get the fuck booed forever. How do you get back from this?
I'm the same way.
How do you get back from this?
I know what I'm watching.
I know what I'm getting into. So it might not hurt anybody but her in the end.
Well, here's the thing. At the end of the day, when you see somebody like Ronda Rousey, and again, I know that she's legit, and this is all a work. I preface it by saying it's all a work. But at the same time, it's the first time that I think that anybody has ever really come out and say that so bluntly. And the thing about it is that
not even Brock Lesnar would say something like that.
And again, like I said earlier, Brock Lesnar could legitimately probably kill most human beings with his bare hands if he wanted to, because he's big, he's strong, and he's skilled. And he's skilled because he knows what he's doing.
Well, Brock can beat anybody up who ain't got good boxing skills, because in MMA he got fucked up a couple times.
Well, but here's the thing though. The thing is that obviously now in UFC, when you're doing that, when you're doing the shoot fighting thing, most of the competitors are going to be on an even playing field when you're in the UFC, because they're not just going to put you in there against anybody, with certain exceptions, obviously. And then you have the great ones, the great ones are the great ones for the reasons, because they overcome. In professional wrestling, and it's again to Chris's point, we all know what we're watching, right? We all know that when we tune in every week on TV, when we go to the arenas, we know what we're watching. But the thing about it is that with professional wrestling, there's always been this element of, we understand it's sports entertainment. We understand that it's choreographed. We understand that there's cooperation with the wrestlers. But the thing is that the wrestlers themselves, to protect their business, at no point should ever pull the curtain that far back to basically, let people know that, hey, this is fake. It would be the same thing as like if Vin Diesel or Denzel Washington or any actor or actress in a movie in the middle of the movie essentially pull back and tell you, hey guys, this is all fake. We understand that when we go in, but when we pay our money to go see that movie, we want to have a suspension of disbelief for however long that movie lasts. Because once we leave the theater, we know that what we saw was obviously, it's staged. We know that. But at the same time, we could still feel whatever we feel, whether we were pumped up because of a good action movie, or a comedy movie, or a romantic comedy, or like a sad movie, a heavy movie, whatever it might be. We know what we're paying to see when we go. But at no point would we ever feel the same way if one of the performers or somebody comes up and, in the middle of a movie says, hey, this is all fake, we'd probably be like, oh, really? Like, oh my God. Well,
depends on the movie.
And exactly. Well,
if it's Deadpool, that might be a great movie. If Deadpool looks over.
Yeah, but the thing about it is that Deadpool was the character in itself was that it was all breaking the fourth wall. It's
about the rules of the medium. Like, whatever we're watching, you establish these rules,
and the thing is,
and don't break your own rules.
And the thing,
100 years.
Well, here's the thing. The thing about it is that the rules that have been established in professional wrestling over generations have always been is that, listen, the fans have always known that there's something screwy going on with pro wrestling in terms of the way that it's presented. The fact that, with very few exceptions, people don't get seriously hurt. But at the end of the day, no wrestler will ever come out and say, hey, this stuff is fake. Especially not on camera, whether even if it's a work and you're being told to do it, it leaves a bad taste in my mouth, because the thing is that I don't think at any point, because again, Ronda Rousey has worked. She's been phenomenal for WWE, and I'll say it. Ronda Rousey's phenomenal for the WWE. The thing about it is that in most of the matches that she's had, the vulnerability aspect of it has always kind of been a little questionable, because of the fact that she's always presented as such a badass that no matter who she works against, there's always this element of like, is Ronda ever really in trouble? So for her to come out and then say, hey, this is fun fake fighting, I'm like, dude, don't do that, because you're essentially now, for lack of a better word, you're really pissing on, people who've been doing this, for generations and generations and generations. And unless there's this payoff is going to be that one of the girls within WWE, again, within storyline, is going to beat her down one-on-one to make it, to make herself, and unless that's happening, which again, it could happen, but I don't.
I think it will.
But it has to be presented to where now Ronda Rousey has to show some level of vulnerability, because a receipt has to come in storyline. A receipt has to come. She can't go back to WWE and just, continue to beat everybody up and say, "Oh yeah, you see, I'm all this tough person." Because
no, I get it. I mean, the way to present Ronda, besides the fake wrestling is fake thing, is the way you did it before. I think they did a great job. They did it right. She's the baddest woman on the planet.
Yep.
She could fuck everybody up. But I don't care about the MMA part. The MMA part it doesn't matter, right? Because this is our show. Anybody could be anybody on this show, right? Mm-hmm. Whoever we decide to win is gonna win. This is the better. I don't care. This athlete all of a sudden is a bigger, badder person than you, because we decided that is the case. But when you watch it, Ronda looks so good. Everything she does is so crispy. Her punches look so beautiful that it's hard to believe that anybody could beat her. But it worked. But Becky was able to take the title, and Ronda was on her way, and she'll do that again when she's ready to leave again. But so she'll do the right thing. Someone will get the win. I don't know who. Hopefully not Nia, because I'm not a fan. Hopefully it's somebody else. But
Alexa.
I don't like Alexa either. Goddamn.
Carmella.
I like Carmella, but she's not good enough. Forget. I don't know who. But I will say this about wrestling. Shout out to every wrestler who's ever done it, because the reality is nobody questions the movie. When they watch it, they don't leave going, well, that was bullshit. That was so fake. When they watch Game of Thrones, when they watch Walking Dead, they don't go, that was so fake. But wrestlers, some of them, and a lot of them are so good, and they've done such a great job for all this time, that people still go, was that real?
Yeah.
I've been sitting in a room with Chris and other friends, and they'll go, wait, that part was real.
They messed up.
I go, was it?
Was it? Yeah.
And they're still that good that they make people question it. And unfortunately, the bad part of that is that people will always be, well, it's fake. You only have to point out that it's fake because it feels so real. It doesn't feel like a
pointing
movie.
out that it's fake?
Well, no, people still point.
People that don't matter.
Non-wrestling fans point out that it's fake.
But
they only point it out because, it feels real. There are moments that feel real. And that's okay.
Yeah,
right? that is the business.
Yeah, but who cares?
Yeah,
who cares? Exactly.
Yeah.
People that won't, who cares?
Yeah, I've always said that UFC really exposed the pro wrestling business, because when somebody say, "Oh, that's fake, man," look at that. UFC is real. You want to see?
Yeah, but to that I say this: WWE or wrestling in general is not a fake version of the UFC, because it came before UFC. It came before MMA. Yeah. It is a fake version of what? It's not a fake version of wrestling, amateur wrestling. It is its own thing, so it can't be fake.
Yeah. All right, guys. I guess for the next one we'll talk about.
Back, brother.
Yeah. I guess one of the next topics we should talk about WWE running live shows during this coronavirus pandemic. What's going to be our thoughts? Like, is it good for the wrestlers? Is it good for their families? Are we going to be okay, or we're not going to be okay? Seeing a live show or not seeing a live show. Yeah. This is something I really, really would love to talk about. Oh, and also too, are wrestlers considered essential workers?
Damn.
And another topic too, we can add into this. Does wrestling need a wrestlers union? But that's a topic for another day.
Yeah, that wrestlers union thing is a question that deserves a whole lot more time and its own. That's its own separate. It's like its own separate show.
Yeah, I mean, if there's any time right now that that they could use a wrestlers union, it's now. Because I think Vince is just he's probably taking it a little too far right now.
I honestly think that if there was a wrestlers union currently, we would probably not be seeing pro wrestling on TV.
Oh no, of course not, Vince is able to get away with this because they're independent contractors, as they like to say, but yet they control their fucking lives. So
yeah,
that doesn't make any sense. Vic.
I know being in management, I always say, hey, like, be careful what you wish for. So there, you have to. I don't know the ins and outs or the behind the scenes, right? So we don't know how this pay structure is set up. We don't know where money is coming from, where's it going, who's it going to. We don't know who it would hurt. Where are we digging? Whose pockets are we digging into to give every wrestler insurance? Are we digging into their own pockets? Does Brock Lesnar prefer to make $10 million a year, or does he want to make $5 million a year because we have to give everyone insurance? I don't know. I'm not a wrestler.
Yeah,
that's something for them
to talk about. Yeah. We'll get into that. Yeah, we'll probably get into if it'll affect their contracts or whatnot.
There's no way for us to know how.
Exactly. Like we're in the loop. We're just speculating and what we feel.
Yeah, we don't know enough.
What the wrestlers deserve.
I will say this.
That's respect, because I've always said that pro wrestlers are the most, they are the most underappreciated performers in the world right now. No, I'm sorry, underpaid. They are the most paid performers because of what they do and what they put their bodies through. Agree?
Yes. I think they should either be paid like actors. I don't know how you determine an actor's salary.
Yeah, I wouldn't know that either.
Or they should be paid like athletes. And I don't know how you determine an athlete's salary. What's the percentage? Yeah. Chris, do you know for the NBA right now, what's the percentage? Owners versus players?
I don't know, but it'll never be fair.
No, it'll never be fair.
Baseball?
But I know for a fact that that wrestling is not close to what the players get in the NBA versus what wrestlers get. But then again, if you own a team in the NBA or NFL, right? You only have to worry about, if it's the NBA, you only have to worry about 12 to 15 players.
Yeah.
Wrestling, if you're WWE, you have to worry about 300 performers. And it has to make sense, because wrestling has a lot of ups and downs. Nothing is guaranteed.
And no off season too.
Well, they deserve an off season. And I think even if you can't make it so that there's no TV for a month or 2 months, you should find a way to make it so that this wrestler is off TV for 1 or 2 months.
Yeah.
That's my take on that personally. Yeah. And not only that, it makes sense, doesn't it? I think about Ring of Honor and all the guys they have that's been there for 10 years or whatever, and they're so stale. Or I think about Eddie Edwards in Impact, and I'm like I like Eddie Edwards, but I'm tired of him in Impact. It's time to go. It's time to go away. Go somewhere else. Or anybody who's been Randy Orton, who, he's done great work recently. But I'd like to see him go away for a month or two every now and then. I don't need to see him every single week for years on years on years. I get it. He's still fresh, but let's take him off TV for a month. Like, who does that hurt?
That's a good idea.
He's already a big star. No one's gonna forget him. I think you should be.
I think I think that's the problem with Vince. He's like, you know, if I take you off TV, then you're gonna get cold. It's like, no, you
No,
know,
they're cold now.
how we're gonna miss you if you don't go away, you know? And I think John Cena is getting that type right now because like we wanted him to go away. Now that he goes away, whenever he comes back, it's like, oh hey, John Cena.
Oh my God! The last time, I don't know when's the last time Cena came out and there was a crowd. I forgot
Yeah, they
what
were in
show
Boston.
it was.
They were in Boston.
Yes, Boston. No, who is right? Boston. Boston is notorious for booing John Cena. They came out and they lost their minds and they loved him and they appreciated him because he's no longer there. They missed him, and you can tell. I did not hear a boo.
No.
You heard boos? I did not hear boos.
Those were loud, tear and they believed
loud tears. Loud tears. And when he was like, I'm going to quit or whatever, I'm done, some fans were upset. And that's what happens when you go away.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, the thing is with
I thought he was going into Macho Man mode. I thought I heard.
No.
Well, no, wait, I did Hawk.
Yeah, Hawk. Yeah, well,
you did Macho Man. You did Hawk. No, I think that really when it comes to the pay structure for what pro wrestling against other sports leagues. Obviously, you know, there's when you're talking about, you know, the NBA or Major League Baseball, when you're talking about 30 owners, 32 owners, you know, it's a much larger organization than what any singular professional wrestling company will have. I mean, WWE is by far the largest, but if you put them next to any professional sports league, they're probably going to look small, you know, just, you know, with their money.
It's a team itself,
And the thing about it is that obviously when you take a look at you know, particularly the NFL or the NBA, I mean, just the amount of money that they make on their television deals and their international deals and, you know, jersey sales and whatever. I mean, the merch and all the things that they have in their TV contracts are ridiculous next to what WWE or any other wrestling company makes. I mean, WWE got a ridiculous deal with Fox. And, you know, the reason, and you know, going back to the topic as to why, you know, the matches are being, you know, presented live, you know, obviously I'm reading PW Insider. So, you know, Mike Johnson and his crew, shout out to those guys because they do excellent work. When I read the article there, what they were talking about is it's basically a matter of the television, you know, their television contracts, particularly with Fox and the USA Network. The way that it works is that they're only allowed to have, I believe it is 3 taped episodes per year. So they have to produce live television for those networks. If they don't, essentially Fox and or, you know, NBC Universal with the USA Network can go back and restructure the contracts and essentially pay WWE less to produce.
I didn't know that.
So this is the Trump. This is really the card that's forcing essentially WWE to produce live shows again in the Performance Center. Now I don't know how they're skirting this with the state of Florida because they have like a stay at home order in the state of Florida.
Yeah, but let me ask you, you know, even with the pandemic, are they still being forced to do these live shows? Like
these big companies don't give a fuck. It's a contract. They don't care what's going on. They're gonna follow whatever in the contract, and they can hold you to it. They're paying WWE a shitload of money, and if they want to save some money and use it against WWE, they will. They will put the gun to their head. And that sucks. That's fucking unfortunate.
Well, hey, that's corporate America for you.
I'm actually glad that's the reason, Lou. Thank you for telling us because I didn't know.
I didn't know that either.
It makes sense because why would you film a bunch of shows and then now all of a sudden you're not going to use that? You're not going to use all that content and you're going to start producing new shows.
Now here's where the caveat lies as to why the networks can restructure their contracts. Because let's say a show like WWE, they produce Raw, NXT, SmackDown, they do all that stuff live. I'm going to use SmackDown as the example because they're the new guys on Fox, and Fox paid them WWE a lot of money to buy the rights for SmackDown. So Fox is paying WWE somewhere in the neighborhood of like, I don't know, half $1 billion a year to produce SmackDown. Because they're paying them at the same level that they would like the NFL or Major League Baseball or some, you know, for like live sports. What ends up happening is that you got to look at it from the network side, because let's say that SmackDown is taped, right? Let's just say that they tape they put SmackDown in the can for the next 6 weeks, you know, and it would behoove WWE to do that because they can have content on the air. However, when that content gets pushed and Fox has to air it, now if with these matches now being pre-taped and the majority of wrestling fans looking at spoilers, that could potentially hurt their ratings, and that means that then advertisers that buy advertising campaigns on the Fox network for SmackDown
for you to watch this show
and then turn around and say, hey, this show normally gets me a 2.5 rating, and now for the next 6 weeks, knowing that these matches are taped, and you know, we could probably potentially lose 500,000 viewers a week. That means that now they're paying for X number of eyeballs to watch their advertisements, and now they're getting 500,000 fewer viewers because these matches are taped, and the potential audience that would watch it live on Friday night have already looked at online. They know what matches, they know who won or whatever, and they can choose to say, "Oh, I'll skip this show this week," you know. And for the
I already know who won.
But the network, that costs them a lot of money. So listen, this is the caveat for having such a huge contract for a program that airs 52 weeks a year. You know, it's not no one can hold the gun to the NBA or Major League Baseball, any other sports leagues, because the league shut down. If WWE just said, you know what, we're shutting down, then what's Fox going to do? What's NBC Universal going to do?
So WWE is basically putting themselves on the, they're backing themselves into a wall right now because they're constantly, then we're going to continue.
Well, here's the thing. WWE is trying to do the right thing, right? But they're trying to do the right thing by their fans by being able to pre-tape a bunch of programming and have it in the can and probably get to somewhere mid-May with the Money in the Bank pay-per-view. Knowing that the building that was supposed to house that pay-per-view has already canceled the event, that event is probably going to be taking place in Orlando at the Performance Center once again. You know, unless things, square away within the next 4 to 6 weeks. So right now, what they wanted to do is, hey, let's produce a bunch of content. Let's have it in the can so that we can essentially protect ourselves, protect our performers, and kind of keep everybody safe during this pandemic, especially after the state of Florida put the stay-at-home order down. What ends up happening now is that if their network partners come to them and say, hey, you know what? If you're not going to produce live TV for the next 6 or 8 weeks, guess what? We're going to pay you 50% less than what you would be paying for the next 4 to 6 weeks.
That is crazy to think.
That is the equivalent of millions of dollars. You know, we're not talking pennies here. We're talking millions of dollars, and that's huge. And that's a huge loss to WWE's bottom line, especially after they've potentially lost $100 million by not producing WrestleMania at Robert James Stadium. So that's a huge loss. And the thing is, WWE is going to try to,
with the XFL just shutting down too.
Well, yeah, and the thing is,
I think that's one of the reasons why they did it, to save some money.
Yes, but the thing is that WWE is going to try the best they can. This is where, they have to serve many gods. They have to serve their fans because the fans are the people that tune into the show. So they're trying to do right by their fans. WWE is by producing some kind of content, whether it's live or taped. Their network partners are saying, hey, we're paying you to be a live sports entity, so we're wanting you to produce live content. Where does that balance lie? Because WWE has a lot of their performers that live in the state of Florida that they can drive in and out.
Yeah, they're lucky.
Yeah, but the thing is that a lot of their top acts don't live in Florida. They have to be flown in, and at some point, it's a matter of saying, where does this go? I'm praying for WWE and any other wrestling company, particularly, and this is probably for AEW and maybe Ring of Honor, NWA, for these folks that tape, that they produce television shows, is to try to do so in a way that is that can entertain the fans, because obviously pro wrestling is really the only form of sport right now, probably with the exception of UFC, that's trying to continue to produce content when there's no sports on TV right now. So they're trying to do the right thing, but I'm hoping for all parties involved that nobody gets sick because of this, because if God forbid one of those wrestlers gets really sick, or something really bad happens where it gets to the tragic point, then pro wrestling is going to really take a hit in the shorts for perceivably being looked as irresponsible, putting profits over.
You think that's in the back of Vince's mind? I'm
sure of it. Listen, WWE or any company that would not think of it that way would just be irresponsible. It would be irresponsible for them to not have that in the back of their mind and to make all the provisions possible for not only their staff, but for the wrestlers and for everybody involved. Because the thing is, this COVID-19 thing, it doesn't discriminate. It's not like saying, hey, you're Brock Lesnar or you're so and so or such and such. No, if it hits you, it hits you. You know what I'm saying? So something like this is very serious, and I can understand because they're really back behind the wall. They've lost a lot of money already. Second quarter of 2020, let's put it like this: 2Q20 for WWE is going to be a massive hit, So, and the thing about it is too, WWE is also a publicly traded company, so they also have stockholders that they have to answer to. And if they're not producing live TV and they lost money on WrestleMania,
they're not going to give them any money.
Contracts. I mean, they're going to get hit on all sides. So,
and the stock is really low right now, so you guys should buy a little because everything's going to come back.
You know what, Vic?
Just throwing it out there.
You know what, Vic? You buy
I have mine.
Cards, brother. You buy them. You buy them from yourself.
I got mine. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that really it's a matter of just being really good, corporate citizens, world citizens, and WWE has a lot of people under their employ, man. It's not a small operation. So, and anybody, any entertainment group that's trying to produce any form of content during this time has to take tremendous steps to do so. And for WWE, it's like they're stuck between a rock and a hard place. It's a very difficult spot for them. It's not a decision that they're making just because, we want to do live content. There's a reason behind it. And unfortunately for them, it's a big financial one. They've lost a lot of money over the last few months. So,
hey, so I'm not going to give the evil empire a hard time. It sounds like their backs are against the walls. Like, what can you do?
They're going through it.
Yeah, look, at the end of the day, I'm selfish. I'm a little bit selfish. I want to continue to see wrestling. I would have preferred. I actually was telling all my friends, hey, if I was dumb, as soon as there's no crowds, I would just film a bunch of shit because you can edit, you can add music, you can do a bunch of cool shit. And
if something did not work, don't air it. Just do it over
again.
Exactly.
If something is horrible, you can edit it.
There's take 1, take 2, take 3, take 4, take 5.
If a match goes 40 minutes, it feels a little boring.
That's a prime example. That's a prime example.
I'll leave that one there. I'll just leave. I'll let that one
I'm sorry. I'm not gonna open that kind of.
No. I'll let
open that up.
At the end of the day, you can't live in too much fear. Leave your people if they're immune compromised, like Roman Reigns, who's recovering from leukemia. He
put him on.
Yeah, he can stay his ass home. He'll be back. He'll be just fine.
I just feel with that situation, I thought, that was selfish by WWE that Roman Reigns literally had to pull himself out, as opposed to WWE saying, "Hey, your recovery, your immune system is very weak. We're not going to promote you at all. Go home."
Yeah, but there's a big reason for that, and that's because
if
Roman Reigns was not the main event star, let's just say that he was positioned as a mid carder, this would
he would have sent home.
But knowing that he's a top flight main eventer, there's a lot of money riding on that match. So, when he made the decision, as far as I was told, WWE was completely supportive of it. Nobody gave him a hard time. So in all honesty, they're being good corporate citizens there and protecting. Listen,
their big investments.
The human being, you want to protect the human being because he still has a family he's got to go home to. But they're also being good corporate citizens in the fact that they know that Roman Reigns, the performer, is going to be a huge part of their promotion for the next upcoming years. So they would rather have him sit out for the next 6 months, knowing that they'll have him for the next 6 years, running matches on top. So they'll be more than glad to take the hit, in regards to that.
And also, when you're like, we forget that the people in charge, let's say Vince or whoever, the people who are the big thinkers in the company, they're human beings too, Like, this shit came out of nowhere. Maybe not to everybody. Some people knew about it, but it felt like it came out of nowhere. And all of a sudden, you're under immense pressure. And some people are telling you it's not that big a deal. Some people are saying it's a huge deal. And if they tell you, hey, leave the old people at home because they're more susceptible, and you're trying to figure out WrestleMania at the same time, and they say, hey, if someone is immune compromised, well, you're almost waiting for people to say, hey, my immune is compromised. Like, it's hard for you, being in charge of the company, Vince. It's hard. I'd imagine it'd be hard for Vince
that's
to
the
go.
sad and hard part about it.
It would be incredibly difficult for him to go, okay, out of my 300 performers, which ones are have a compromised immune systems?
My number one guy.
Like, it's really hard to remember, and it's really hard to think in that picture, because you look at Roman, you don't think of someone who has a weak immune system.
No, not when you look at him, just
no, you look at him,
certainly not.
A Samoan savage.
Yeah.
That you're not allowed to headbutt because it's not gonna sell it, brother.
We eat raw meat every night.
So it can be difficult for the people in charge to see these things. We expect it from them, right? Because they're in charge of this huge company, so you expect them to know everything and to know what's the right thing at all times. But I don't necessarily blame them for that. It's not easy.
No, it's certainly not. And the thing about it is, no matter what people might think of WrestleMania one way or the other, you got to really commend WWE for being able to put that show on. Quite frankly, to just make
it the way it was.
It over-delivered.
It over-delivered.
It over-delivered.
Yeah, it did.
And the thing about it is, even with NXT TakeOver, that they basically parceled that up into 3 weeks of NXT TV and just gave you the matches.
Yep.
Listen, WWE is doing everything that they possibly can to try to make good by the fans. Unfortunately, in this situation for them, they also, they have to serve another god, and it's their corporate partners. So they're trying to be good corporate citizens in terms of taking care of their people, because they're a publicly traded company, and you don't want to have, one of your performers get sick or one of your staffers get sick and something tragic happens, because then that's going to be a tremendous blow to the company. But at the same time, it's a matter of like, hey, we've already lost at least tens of millions of dollars in the second quarter of this year. And if we choose to do taped programming and then take a hit from our television partners saying, hey, we're going to restructure your contracts to pay you less, how do you go back to your shareholders and be able to explain that to them in a way that doesn't make you look completely compromised? So it's a tough situation, and there's no right or wrong answer here. It's just a matter of, listen, say a prayer for all those wrestlers and all the staffers for any wrestling promotion or any other entertainment entity that's trying to put out content during this time, and make sure that all of those people, God bless you, hope you stay safe, because man, this thing is serious. And
scary.
As much as we appreciate all the efforts that all these people are doing to try to provide us entertainment and to give us a distraction from what's going on in real life, these people are also human beings, and they can easily get nailed with this too. So, give them a lot of credit and a lot of love, but at the same time, it's like, let's try to also be sympathetic to them as well, to not give them too hard of a time for the situation that they're in.
Amen. So I guess I don't feel as bad as when Edge comment. We shouldn't feel that bad after all. I guess we shouldn't feel that bad. Like, well, he shitted on us, so he has every right to to shit on us.
Hey, we all have our own opinion.
Yeah.
Hey Vince, stay your ass home. By the way, don't forget that you're over 70.
Yeah, he's 89, man. That son of a bitch is old.
Stay your ass home. But to
finish going through it, man.
To finish on a lighter note, like Lou was talking about earlier, that Fox deal that WWE got is the biggest they've ever got, and it's the first time, even attitude ever, it doesn't matter. It's the first time they've gotten a TV deal that's remotely close to something that the NBA or the NFL would get. So maybe, just maybe, between that deal, between the blood money from Saudi Arabia and between AEW, putting a little bit of pressure on WWE to keep
offering guys bigger contracts.
No, not just that. Forget the contracts. The people that went to AEW, it wasn't for money. right? It was because of.
Oh no! I don't mean that they went for money, but the fact that the WWE was trying to avoid them from going.
Oh yeah. Exactly.
That's where I meant that they offered bigger contracts.
Yes, that's exactly where I was going. Thank you, Julio.
Sure.
All this stuff combined, hopefully, all these wrestlers that we love will start making a shitload of money, and they'll all have giant houses, and everybody can live happily ever after, and they'll have so much money that they won't need health insurance. They'll all be making millions of dollars every year. So
Wrestlers Union, that's what they need. A Wrestlers Union. This will fix it all.
Hey, you say that till we miss WrestleMania 47 because the wrestlers go on strike because they want to get $5 million a piece. Because No Way Jose wants $5 million. So everybody's gonna go on
Let's
strike.
hold up for No Way Jose.
Hey, think about the MTA, my friends. Think about the MTA and how the service is horrible. And all the employees go on strike once a year to get more money. Just think about that. You want your wrestling to be like that? And that's what's gonna happen. We're gonna have to pay $700 for WrestleMania 47. I hope you're ready.
Well, I hope I'm making millions of dollars at that point, because then $700 for a 4-hour show won't feel so hard on the bottom.
But I tell you what, brother, you won't be making that much money if you're on the bottom of the card. Unless I'm on top.
Watch out now.
Hulkster's gonna be there.
Yeah, he's hulking up on us.
I'll go be there.